Adrian Clark.
Yo.
So for the people who don't know you, please introduce yourself.
My name is Adrian Clark. I am the CEO of Fighters First Management, and I'm also the CEO and creator of Protect Yourself at All Times.
I've been knowing Adrian Clark for a long time. I'm going to introduce Adrian. Myself, good friend, a father, a son, an author, sports agent, turned boxing manager.
Yeah.
So let's get right into it. How did you ultimately switch over from? How did you transition?
It wasn't by choice, man. I honestly transitioned because Jerry Belmonte, as my first client, he saw that I was helping out CJ Miles, and I was living with CJ in Utah at the time. CJ and I grew up together in Dallas, and Jerry from Corpus Christi was undefeated at the time, needed help with his boxing career, and I wasn't a boxing manager at the time. I just was trying to figure out the whole sport management, sports agent game, and Jerry needed help, and I just took advantage of opportunity, man. That was what, 16 years ago now, and
wow,
been rocking ever since, bro.
Okay, so you built Fighters First Management with the idea of putting fighters first. What was broken in boxing that made you say that you had to fix something about it?
I mean, mostly fighters getting taken advantage of contractually and financially. Like, that was the biggest problem, and it still is a problem. It's just now with Protect Yourself at All Times and Fighters First Management, you have an educational system, but then you also have a management company that protects the fighter contractually and financially. So, we're still fixing the problem. The problem still is there with the fighters being taken advantage of contractually and financially. The only difference is that with Protect Yourself at All Times, you have an educational system that can help you know better so you can do better. But with Fighters First Management, you have a management company that is safe, essentially, to move your career and you not be taken advantage of.
Okay. What's the biggest mistake fighters make when it comes to contracts and money?
Rushing through the contracts is probably the biggest mistake, or just not reading it at all and just looking at the numbers. Most times people just look at the numbers and they don't pay much attention to the words, and that's really where they get you. The numbers are really just a distraction from what the words and other clauses say. And then with the money, I mean, you can go down a rabbit hole of the mistakes people make as far as money goes, but the biggest thing is not understanding that what you're signing for is not what you're taking home. You're signing for $1 million, but with your overhead expenses, and then not to mention taxes, you're taking home probably a little under or a little over $500,000. But guys be like, oh, I'm signing for $1 million, I'm making $1 million. It's like, you're making it, but you're not taking it home. Like, that matters.
How many fighters today are getting exactly what they're worth, in your opinion?
That's a loaded question, because it's like, if you were really to measure like what a fighter is worth, it's like take Errol, for instance, and look what he does when he fights at AT&T Stadium. So based off of how much he generates as far as the gate goes and his demand, you can say that, okay, we can prove that Errol Spence Jr. is a multi-million-dollar fighter based off of he can sell out a football stadium, and the demand is there for him. Even after being gone from the game 3 years, the demand is still there. But, an up-and-coming guy or a guy that's just recent champion, it's hard to say that the $3 or $4 million they make in a fight, that they're actually worth that. Because if you can't bring that demand, essentially, as far as ticket sales or putting asses in seats or having people buy your fight, it's hard to be like, oh, but he's worth that or he's not worth that. So it's a little bit of a loaded question, but,
Whenever a fighter's purse is public, let's say, oh, he got 30 million for a fight, and the family is like, oh yeah, he got 30 million. Break down just real quick off the top of your head. Tell them 30 million is not 30 million, or whatever a million it is.
No, it's not, because in boxing we play off of like hard percentages. So I like 30 million for boxing is unrealistic for most guys. But let's just play with 1 million, as we said earlier. You have to pay your trainer, and that's 10% of your purse. So that's 100,000 to your trainer. And then typically for the manager, it's between 15% and 33%, 33 being a bit high, but people still sign for it. But let's say it is 33% off of $1 million. I think that's $330,000. If you're fighting for a title, like fighting for belts is not free. So typically that's 3% of your purse. So that's $30,000. And then if you have a cut man that you have, that's somewhere between 3 and 5%. So let's say another $30,000. Like that's 330,000, 100,000, 30,000, 30,000. Like that's what you have to pay off of the $1 million, and that's before we get to taxes. So what the number looks like when you sign is not going to be what it looks like once you actually take it home.
Yeah. Name one thing every young fighter should learn before turning pro?
They got to learn the business, man. Like you have to learn the business, and you have to learn to handle your own business. And it starts in the amateurs. And I kind of make a joke about in the amateur tournaments, like the fighters have to go sit down in one space, and then the trainers fill out their paperwork and stuff like that. The fighters need to tell the trainers, like, you go sit down. They need to fill out their own paperwork and learn how to handle their own business. Eventually, once you turn pro, you'll hire someone else to handle your business. But in my experience, it's best to know your business and then hand it off or hire someone else to handle it, and you still know their job rather than you just hiring somebody and you don't know nothing about the business. Young fighters should learn about the business before getting into the professional ranks.
You've worked closely with Errol Spence Jr. What makes him different mentally than other champions?
Man, he takes his time. Sometimes he takes a lot of time, but he's never rushed into a deal. I mean, Everlast company that he and I worked with for years. And it took, I want to say 4 years to get that deal done because he took his time with that deal. Now, granted, he was such a big name that Everlast waited, for him, but he doesn't rush into things, and he's very meticulous with certain things. And until he talks to everybody, whether it's Al or his dad or his mom or myself or Jordan or whoever, he takes his time on deals. That's what makes him different from a lot of guys. He's not rushing into nothing, and you can't force him into anything. He takes his time. That's probably one of the best things about him as a businessman. He's not hurried or rushed by anybody.
When you're managing a fighter on that level, what matters the most, the legacy or money?
The money. The money. Like, I get the legacy part of it because, who wouldn't love to have the name of Muhammad Ali or George Foreman, a name that continues to earn for you. But if I had to pick for a guy, I can't guarantee that he's going to get a George Foreman grill deal that can bring his family money long after he passes away. I can't ensure that he'll have the name and the impact of Muhammad Ali that keeps his estate earning after he's gone. But, if I could get him or her $10 to $20 million in their fighting career, that's something that I can see. It's intangible. I can grasp that for them, and I can help them stretch that money out for as long as they're responsible with it. But the money is more important than the championship belts and all the other shit they put in front of the fighters. The money is the most important thing.
Errol versus Bud. I'm going to give my opinion on what I felt like what happened. I'm Team Errol for sure. He didn't look like himself. I'm being completely transparent. Every fight that I've ever watched him fight, he was aggressive. I'm not going to say he felt like he was going to lose, but he definitely wasn't himself. Being the professional that you are and the boxing manager that you've became and the things that you've seen in the sport, what's your professional opinion and your personal opinion about what you saw?
I mean, we're so desensitized as a population to where we just forget, or we kind of put to the backside that Errol Spence Jr. was in a devastating car wreck that 99% of people would have died in that car wreck, getting thrown from a car. Dude thrown from a car and came back to fight, came back to win another championship, and eventually face off against Terrence Crawford. So he wasn't the same fighter in the Danny Garcia fight. He wasn't the same guy in the Ugas fight. He wasn't the same guy in the Terrence Crawford fight. He experienced something that was extremely traumatic, that he suffered a head injury, probably amongst other things that we don't know about. So he hasn't been the same fighter since the car accident, and people don't care about that. Him and I just had this conversation. It's like, bro, the fans don't care whether he was in a car accident or not. Like, they expect to see the same guy that they saw when, he was wiping out Sean Porter or Kell Brook or Mikey Garcia. They eliminate the car accident situation. It's like, oh, well, he came back, so he's okay, and he'll be the same guys. He's different. He's a different person all around since the accident. So, no, he wasn't the same fighter in that fight, but he wasn't the same fighter in the fight with Ugas or Danny Garcia either.
How is his mental these days? I had a chance to be around him about a month ago, maybe, at the Roy Jones.
Roy Jones, yeah.
He seemed in good spirits. He's always in phenomenal shape, of course. You talk to him, though. What's his mental like moving forward?
Still hilarious. Still got jokes, a lot of jokes, especially about me, whether it's my weight or the other day was in Houston. And, I'm getting older, so I'm thinning up top. And he couldn't see it at first, but I went to pick something up, and he saw it, and it was this whole ordeal, this whole joke. So, no, dude is still cool, man. It's just he's getting older, and, family's first for him. You know what I'm saying? I think it's always been, but even more now, spending time with his kids and with AO. So, man, he's good. Just, he's gearing back up. He's getting ready.
How do you feel about Bud Crawford? He just beat Canelo. That was a major fight. Is he the best fighter ever after that victory?
No, he's not the best fighter ever, but he's one of the greats. You can't deny that he's not one of the greats. But no, I got respect for dude. I don't know him like that. I've met him a couple of times, but he's a great fighter. He's always going to be mentioned as one of the greats. But the greatest fighter, he's not the greatest.
What tools do you have to possess in order to be the greatest fighter?
I don't think anyone would ever trump Muhammad Ali, because Muhammad Ali was able to stand up for the people at a time where, our people were just not embraced or welcomed in this country. And he was one that stood up, fought for the country, won a gold medal, and then stood up for the people as a champion inside the ring and outside the ring. So no one will ever trump Muhammad. But, that star status, Terrence is always going to be mentioned. It's hard to trump Floyd Mayweather. Floyd had the game in a chokehold, you know what I'm saying? To where, whether it was his fights, whether you bought them on pay-per-view or you were at the fights, Floyd had the game in a chokehold, so it's hard to trump him. It's hard to trump Roy Jones. There's a lot of guys out there that just mentioned as greats, but Bud is going to be up there in the top 10 all time of the best fighters to ever step in the ring, but I wouldn't regard him as the greatest.
A lot of people attribute victories, championships, and losses to GOAT status. Like, let's say LeBron and Michael Jordan. The biggest thing I always hear, Jordan never lost. My take is LeBron James is the best basketball player that I've ever witnessed play basketball. Okay. I witnessed Michael Jordan. I'm watching the 41-year-old man continue to play like he's 20. Okay. He's not slowing down. He's first in everything, and I don't even think that's just the GOAT status. But what do you feel about fighters once they have an L or two? But everything you said, about Muhammad Ali, he lost. Yeah. But you still attribute him to being the GOAT. Yeah. Because of everything else that he's done. Right. Yeah. For the people who don't really understand, and it's personal preference at the end of the day. Right, exactly. For the people who don't understand, what makes the greatest of all time?
Again, I think it goes back to what you just said. It's personal preference. So, you said, LeBron. I feel like for me, it's Jordan, Kobe, then LeBron. But someone will be like, LeBron is first in everything. He's first in all the statistical categories. That should make him number one, and it's hard to argue against that. Kobe Bryant was just a killer on the court, on both ends of the floor. Won championships, whether it be with Shaq or with another group that did not involve Shaq. So I don't think there's no one set description or explanation that can say this person is the GOAT. I think it's just based off of your personal preference. Some people say that Robert Horry is one of the GOATs because he has
7 rings,
7 championship rings. So.
Diabolical.
So it's really your personal preference based off of, I guess, the number of championships they led their team to, points or awards or whatever it may be. I think all that has to go into one pot. And then you just determine it from there. But you also have to add in the outside influence. Like Michael Jordan was a megastar, international star.
Before the internet.
Before social media, you know what I'm saying? So it's I got Jordan as the GOAT of basketball, and then Muhammad as the GOAT of
Most definitely. Brian Norman Jr.
Yep.
You're working with him as well. What do you see in Brian that makes him so special?
Oh, he just got total package, man. He can, and he showed in the Devin Haney build-up that he has the same charismatic qualities that Muhammad Ali had, as far as speaking into the mic and getting people to rally behind him, and people to love him or hate him. Like Brian has that when the camera gets in front of him, and he'll give you a show inside the ring also. And he's young. And Brian just turned 25 years old. Just turned 25, and he already has 29 fights or 27 fights. So he's young. He's great looking. He's from Atlanta, so he has that southern twang, that accent to him, and he's just charismatic when he gets on the camera, man. So, and then he gives you a show inside the ring. So Brian Norman Jr. is going to be special for the sport of boxing.
What separates prospects that make it from the ones that don't?
Nowadays, it's just the mentality and being able to control social media and not fall into the traps that social media bring forth. It used to just be, two guys are going to fight. We didn't hear from them or see them until fight week when they weighed in and faced off against each other. Now we get to see these guys all the time on social media. And I think that kind of takes away from, the mystique of the fighter. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what keeps guys special. Like, again, with Errol, we haven't really seen much of him or heard from him in 3 years, but you still want to see him. You still want to know what's going on with him. The mystique of someone that's out of the eye, that's still special. It means something. So with guys that are on the brink, sometimes they just do too much on social media to come off clownish, essentially. And that's a part of the culture now. But I think that's what separates guys actually getting over the hump and not falling into that social media trap.
How important is branding for young fighters today versus just skills?
Branding is important, but shit, if you can't win, inside the ring, if you can't, you may have 1 million followers, but again, if you can't win those big fights and if you can't put on a show to keep asses in seats, then the branding part really doesn't matter. Sometimes you have to strategically put things in place to get your name and your brand further out there, but then other times it just comes organically. I know from experience with E, EJ wasn't trying to figure out what social media skits or themes he needs to do to get his name further out there. He just focused on what he needed to do inside the ring. He figured, as long as I keep knocking dudes out and putting on a show, people are going to want to see me. And it's worked out for him. But someone else, like a Ryan Garcia, maybe, it's worked out for him to put social media first, essentially, but then back it up with what he does inside the ring. So different strokes for different folks, essentially.
Anthony Joshua, I see that you have a close relationship with him. I seen him with your son. He was involved in a car wreck not long ago in Lagos, Nigeria, where he was injured and he lost 2 of his friends. Yeah. Prayers for Anthony Joshua first, but what do you feel about his return, and do you think he'll make a complete recovery in order to return to the ring?
Well, I mean, I'm not. I've met AJ and cool with him, cool with his team. RIP to Cena, man, good dude. Met him when he was here in Dallas, along with Nas and Ben and his squad. I wouldn't say that I'm close with AJ, but it's definitely respect with AJ. And he's a strong dude, bro. He's strong physically and clearly he's strong mentally. To see both of his friends, in that condition, especially pass away, and still be able to get his mental back right to decide to step back in the ring, it just says a lot about him. But I watched him here in Dallas, man. Dude is a workhorse, and mentally, clearly, he's on another level. So I'm wishing him the best coming back to fight. I hope he doesn't prolong his stay and try to fight until he's 40 or whatever. Just come back, man, prove to yourself, prove to the people that you are the champion that you've always been, and then ride off in the sunset from there.
Protect yourself at all times. It's more than a phrase. It's a movement. What does it really mean?
Education. And life in general, man, you're nothing without being educated. I don't care if you're a plumber. I don't care if you are entertainer or athlete. Without education, bro, you are going to struggle in this world. So protect yourself at all times means education.
Why do you feel fighters get taken advantage of so often in the sport?
Just not having the right people behind them, and you have to have do your due diligence. And sometimes it's not just you vetting the individual you're looking to hire. Sometimes it's having the lawyer sit down with the individual, or have your mom or your dad sit down with the individual that you're looking to hire. I feel like fighters sometimes just rush through it because they're so money hungry. They want the right now money, and they'll just pretty much go with anybody that's offering them money rather than sitting down and actually vetting this person and making sure that they're the right person for the job. They just look at the money, and if it's a distraction. So you get blinded by it, you're gonna get taken advantage of sooner or later.
If you could change one rule in the boxing business today, what would it be?
I would want to have probably either I don't want to say a union because the fighters are independent contractors. So I don't want to say union, but I think there should be a council where there's a council of fighters, and it can be a guy like Terrence Crawford, Andre Ward, Gennady Golovkin. It's a group of retired fighters that are the voice of the fighters of today. And, certain rules that are looking to be changed or combating that, the 3% tax on titles. You've seen Zuffa has a league now. The fighters didn't have a voice with any of that. Certain rule changes happen through the commissions, and fighters don't have a say-so in it. The Muhammad Ali Act reform, I think that it was changed a little bit. The fighters didn't have a voice in that. So having a council and having guys that are retired, that have names, that have influence, and are educated in the business side, that will help the fighters of tomorrow benefit from the sport and be protected because you have a council that's a voice that stands up for all the fighters, not just anybody.
What mindset does a fighter have to survive both the sport and the business?
I mean, the same mindset you have inside the ring, bro, because somebody's trying to knock your head off every round. You know what I'm saying? They're not taking it easy on you. Like, you're a part of their survival. They need your name and they need you to be out, whether it be out cold or losing the fight, for them to continue to gain and move forward. So once you step outside the ring, man, you still have to have that same mindset that this person is possibly either trying to take advantage of me or trying to pull wool over my eyes for me not to see something in particular. So protect yourself at all times is a phrase that's like universal, but you need to protect yourself inside the ring, but also have a mindset, regardless of how much you trust the individual or whatever service they provide, protect yourself outside the ring damn near more than you protect yourself inside the ring.
Does promoters need fighters more or fighters need promoters more?
I would say that it's a bit equal, but slight edge to the fighters, because it's like you take away the promoters, who's putting on the fights? Like, who's signing the checks? But then you take away the athletes. Okay, well, you got the money and you got the venue, but who's actually going to fight? So I believe one hand washes the other, but the fighters are a little bit more needed than the promoters. A little bit, 1% maybe.
Tank Davis, what do you think about him and the Shakur Stevenson fight? I've been seeing that a lot floating around. What's going on? Who's ducking who? Like, I know Shakur wants to fight extremely bad. A lot of people feel like Shakur Stevenson is like the second coming of Mayweather. A lot of people say Shakur runs like Mayweather did, quote unquote. My personal opinion about Shakur, he's very sharp. Yeah. He plays chess.
Yeah.
Power wise, he's not the strongest, right?
Gotcha.
But he makes up for it by not being hit.
Yeah.
Do you think the Gervonta Davis, Shakur Stevenson fight will ever happen?
I mean, I don't think anybody's ducking anybody, man. The fighters want to fight. Usually the business side gets in the way. And because if the numbers are not right, man, the contract is not right, then it doesn't matter what the fighters want. It's like, we can't do this because the numbers don't make sense. So I don't think anybody's ducking anybody, but does the fight happen, bro? I don't know, because I know with Jay Prince, Jay will get a deal done, but I don't know Shakur's side. I don't know Gervonta's side. There's so many I don't knows with that situation, so I gotta say, I don't know if it ever happens or not. I think it'd be a dynamic fight if it does, but does it happen or not right now? I couldn't tell you.
I see that you have a great relationship with Jay Prince. What have you learned from Jay Prince? And Just name some things that he's taught you along your journey.
Man, a lot, man. Me and Jay, we talk a lot. We talk a lot. And a couple years ago, when we had a situation where Jarrell Big Baby Miller had signed with him, Jay and I got to spend a lot of time together getting that deal done. Patience more than anything. And then I got to see how his life is now at, I think Jay is 59, 60. I got a good glimpse of how my life could be if I, work as hard and as smart as he did in his career and put different things in place and, invest in myself and other things. But I've learned patience more than anything from Jay, and listening more than I talk. I know I talk a lot. Jay don't really say too much. So it's forcing me now to kind of not say too much when talking to people and just listening. But that's the homie for real.
How do you attribute the way he's been able to balance? Like, we're talking about music. I mean, everything that he's ever done, like, it's extremely successful.
Yeah.
What mindset do you have to have in order to be that way? Because you're talking about a 60-year-old man who's still running shit.
Yeah, no, I see a similarity with him and Errol. They both take their time, bro. They both take their time. You're not gonna rush Jay to do nothing. You're not gonna rush Errol to do anything. You know what I'm saying? So both of them are, very meticulous, man. And Jay, how he was talking to me about like nature. One time I went to his house and he was walking around outside and he was telling me, man, like you got to become one with nature. Sometimes you got to just take your shoes off, go walk in the grass and listen to the wind, listen to the birds, listen to the different insects. Like it'll talk to you if you're listening. And of course, at first I thought something wrong with dude country mindset, but man, you do. You take off your shoes, bro, and you go walk in the grass or walk in the pavement, and you really just listen. You're thinking about different things that's going on in your life, and nature will talk to you, man, if you actually listening. So him and Earl are very, very similar as kind of quiet guys that can't be rushed or moved, but they're very meticulous.
You are also a man of many talents, artist, like I said earlier, artist, author, dad. What's next for Adrian Clark and Fighters First Management?
I mean, Fighters First Management keeps moving, man. I want to get more into developing boxing managers. I feel like there's a shortage because and I was talking to Jay one time and I was actually just making an example. And I was like, who's the next you? We don't have a next you in the business, but he did. He was like, it's you, like you're the next. I definitely was at loss for words when he said that. I was definitely honored, flattered by it. But I want to get more into developing the next wave of managers. I feel like we didn't have that when I was getting into the game. I got in at 23. Like I'm 39 years old now. And there's not really, I couldn't pick a next me. I can point out some guys that I think will be on point, but it's only a few. So I want to get into developing the managers through Fighters First Management, through the Boxing Manager Certificate, and through this new book that I'm coming out with next year that I'm going to wait to talk further about. But just want to get into developing the managers and making sure that when I leave the game, that the management side of it is going to be well taken care of through a protege or through somebody or through a lot of people that know the game so they can guide the fighters and protect them even further than I once did.
I've seen 3 or 4 different people that's projected to fight Errol Spence. Who's Errol's next fight, and what do you predict is going to happen?
He gotta announce that. I think people talk about rumors and stuff, but if it don't come from him, then it's not true. So once he announces, who, what, when, where, and why, like y'all will know about it. But I'm excited. I'm excited for him, man. I'm happy for him. As definitely my brother, but I'm proud of him. And
he really taking his time.
Yeah, I know, right? But no, he'll definitely, he'll announce what his next move is.
Where can the new fans and supporters find you on social media?
Now, IG deleted my old account, and that was actually my fault.
It was jumping too.
Yeah, it was kind of getting up there, but now which is like a blessing in disguise. Now it's Boxing Manager. My handle is Boxing Manager, which wasn't available last year. So things happened like right on time, but I'm really active on IG, Boxing Manager, and then on Facebook, still Adrian Clark, and on Twitter, X, whatever you call it, at the Adrian Clark. But yeah, I'm still here, still kicking.
And if you had 60 seconds to press a button on any fight, who would it be and why?
Errol Spence, Jake Paul in Dallas. I think that's a huge fight. I know it's like people were like, oh man, Jake Paul, but I think that's a incredible fight that'll do incredible numbers. And yeah.
Speaking of Jake Paul, we're going to get right into this. What do you feel about Jake Paul? Because from what I see a real fighter.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's talking about the streaming and the YouTube. I see a real fighter.
Bro, you see what happened with Anthony Joshua? Got his jaw, bro. You damn right he a real fighter. Like, if you get in the ring, I don't care who you are. If you're getting in the ring without headgear on, with 10-ounce gloves on, 8-ounce gloves on, and you taking punches from whoever, you are a real fighter. So Jake Paul is a real fighter. He just found a way to hustle the game, essentially. But you can't say he's not a real fighter, because he takes real punches in real fights that he either wins or loses. So respect to him, to be honest.